Hi there, this is Vahid from VRF Education channel, and today I'm going to start a new tutorial on MongoDB, a pioneer in NoSQL database area. As you might already know, 15 years ago, the only choice that we had to use as data store for our applications in different area was relational databases, such as Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, and the others. Although they handle a lot of things for us and also solve a couple of issues, some major issues in working with data for us, they also faced a couple of limitations and also challenges. For example, we have fixed structure in our tables, and also we should move under schemas and tables in our project. And also, if we want to change the table structure during the lifetime of the project, we probably faced some challenges, and we need to do a lot of works to solve those problems. And also, we should normalize our data. We should create extra tables to support some relations, such as many-to-many relations. And also, in RDBMS, we have a lack of performance in joining data in different tables when we faced huge amounts of data. And most of the time, we need to convert table-like data that we fetch from database into some other object types that we can work with them easily in our applications. But in NoSQL databases, we worked with JSON-based documents. So it's easy to read, human readable, and also in most of scenarios, especially in web-based applications and also mobile applications, we work with JSON data type. So we don't need to convert them. This is one of the benefits of using NoSQL databases that use JSON-based documents. And when we use JSON as our base object type, we can have anything related to that object in that object using nested objects. So we don't need to join tables anymore, and that can lead us to better performance. And also, when we use JSON-based documents again, we don't have to enforce some predefined schemas or some fixed structures. We can be very dynamic in our objects and the fields that we use inside those objects. I'm going to talk about this option in future very soon. So the main question is when I should use NoSQL databases, and is always using NoSQL databases a good choice? So I should always omit relational databases as one of options to using as data store? No, it's not true. In some scenarios that I listed them here, you can use NoSQL databases much easier than relational databases. For example, if you want to integrate large amount of data from different data sources into one place, NoSQL databases, because their nature is based on document, it's much easier to use than relational databases. In a relational scenario, you should create another schemas, tables, and a lot of relation between tables, normalize data. But in NoSQL databases, you can just import them using JSON equivalent of those data. And also, when you want to work with complex data structures that they're going to evolve through the times, when we are using relational databases, you face a lot of challenges when you want to change the structure of one table, only one table, when during the lifetime of your application. But in NoSQL databases, it's very easy. You can just add extra fields to your JSON objects. One other important factor that we should consider when we want to use NoSQL databases is when we are talking about high-performance applications. With using NoSQL databases, as I said, we can omit join in tables. So it can bring us a lot of performance, and also most of applications today work with JSON as their base type. So we don't need to convert data that fetch from database to another object type. We can use them as it is. It's also gonna save us a lot of time. So it's gonna improve our application's performance. The other thing is working in a hybrid or multi-cloud applications. Again, based on the scale-out architecture that NoSQL databases support, and I'm gonna talk about it in future, we can easily scale our databases horizontally and vertically. And in the RDBMS world, it's face a lot of challenges to do or to scale our databases, and I'm going to talk about it in future. So again, if you want to if you want to scale your databases very easily, in contrast with RDMS databases, NoSQL databases is a good choice. And also, if you want to develop, if you want to support agile development and collaboration in your database, it's again a good choice to use NoSQL databases because they are schema free and you don't need to define some structures that we have in RDBMSs or relational databases. You can start your application development very soon, in contrast again to relational databases. So these are the factors that we should consider when we want to use or we want to choose one from NoSQL databases and relational databases. Now let's get familiar with the basic idioms in NoSQL databases and their equivalent in relational databases. The first one is database itself. It's the entity or the thing or the container that we're gonna put everything in that. For example, in relational databases, we create tables, we use functions, store procedure, triggers, and etc. all in one entity, database itself. And also, in MongoDB, we have the same concept, a database that contains all other things that we are going to use in our applications. The first and the most important thing is collection. It's equivalent to table. So in NoSQL databases, we have a collection instead of tables, and those collections contains documents. Documents are equivalent to row in relational databases. And this is the JSON object or JSON-based documents that it can contain a couple of fields. And also these fields can be again another document or another JSON objects, nested objects. Okay, so it's equal to column in relational databases. These are the basic idioms that we're going to use a lot in NoSQL databases such as MongoDB. Now, let's see a typical document in MongoDB. This is a JSON-based object or a document in MongoDB, open and close with curly braces. And also here we have 3 different fields, and these are the values for those fields. Again, as I said, fields are equal to column in relational databases. In MongoDB, each document has at least one field, underline or underscore ID. That is the primary key field for each document. And by default, it's going to fill by object ID by MongoDB drivers. Okay, and this is a unique value that you can use to access one document in all the database. Okay, and also you can override its value and using your considered value. For example, you want to fill it with integer values. Okay, you can do it, and we will see it very soon in future sessions. And this is a flat object. We don't have any nested object inside it, and we're gonna check that again, that also very soon. Here you can use double quotation to around your field name, or if they are not contain a space, you can mention them without using double quotation. By default, most of the time we use double quotation, but you can omit them if there's no space in your field name. Now let's talk about MongoDB itself. As I said, it's a NoSQL database, distributed document base, and it supports a scale-out architecture that we will talk about it in future. And also it's general purpose. You can use it for different purposes. And also it's open source, and again, it's cross-platform that you can use it on every operating systems. And also, as I mentioned earlier, MongoDB is built to store a huge amount of data and also perform fast by because of those reasons that I told you earlier. Okay, that we can use it for some specific means, such as dealing with a huge amount of data, or again perform fast queries on data, large scale data. And also these are some advantages using MongoDB that I mentioned a couple of them earlier. So it store data as JSON based documents, so we don't need to have fixed structure. We can also use a hierarchical data. As I said, through the nested object mechanism, we can simulate or we can save hierarchical data in one document without need to join anything or join over some tables. We have all the data that we need related to one entity in our applications. And again, it allows us to spread data across multiple servers through its scale-out mechanism and using horizontal scaling. And also it supports features like indexing and also aggregation. And again, you can also use some relational stuff like relational database in MongoDB, but it's not recommended. But we're going to check them again very soon in future sessions. And also, I mentioned it a couple of times, it performs fast with huge data based on its nature, that is document-oriented, not tabular data. And most popular languages such as C#, Java, Python, Node.js, and etc. Have drivers to work with this database. So you don't worry, you don't need to worry about a driver for your programming languages. If you work with some general purpose and also famous languages, you definitely have, or you definitely can find some drivers to work with MongoDB. And also, there are a couple of tools that let you work with MongoDB using GUI application or command line, such as MongoDB Compass or mongoosh. That is the shell to work specifically with MongoDB. And I'm gonna use them in this tutorial and show you how to use them. Now, let's see a typical database schema in MongoDB. Here we have a database named Human Resource DB, and it contains 2 different collections. And from now on, we don't refer to relational terms such as tables, columns, rows. Only we have collections, documents, and fields here. Okay. And for each collection, we have 1 document here. And these are flat documents. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you a nested document. And another interesting thing that I mentioned before is that for document, we are not going to have a rigid template for each collection. For example, we have another document here that contains first name and last name and another field named skills. It doesn't important that the previous one or this one doesn't have a skills field, or the next one doesn't contain email and salary. The only thing that is important is that this document should be JSON based. Okay. Here we have a nested object that also contains complex data structures, arrays. If we want to work with arrays in relational environments, we need to create another table and create some relation between these 2 tables and also join them in order to have one-to-many relation. Okay. But in MongoDB, we just need to declare an array inside our document. And again, we can query over the object inside these arrays, and I'm going to show it in next sessions when we want to fetch or query data, query over data in MongoDB. And here we have another object, and we can continue this nested objects till 100 level. Here we have a nested object. Again, we have another object inside the main object, and again we have another object inside the address object. Okay. And we can continue, as I said, to 100 levels. And also, if we want to access the phone or the number inside the phone object inside the address object, you just use this notation, address.phone.number, using dot notation. Okay. And there are some basic rules and also another rules that we're gonna check them throughout the course. But here there are some basic rules in MongoDB, and I just mentioned them before. For example, underline ID or underscore ID reserved as the primary key in each document in MongoDB. Also, you can omit double quotation in naming field if they don't contain a space. And the size of document is up to 16 megabytes. Okay, and if you want to save a document with more than 16 megabytes, you need to use something named gridfs. And MongoDB driver convert JSON data to something named bson, and it's binary data. Okay, and in binary data, order is important. So here we have an object that contains 2 fields, x and y, and they are the same in the on the paper. X equals 1 and y equals 2 in both objects, but they are not equal because the order of fields inside these objects are not the same. And if we want to check the bson documents based on for equality, these 2 objects are not equal. We need to observe the order of fields inside the documents. So this is some basic rules and also some introduction about MongoDB. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and in the next session I'm going to show you how to install MongoDB on Windows operating system, and also how to install a couple of tools such as a MongoDB Compass and also mongoosh or Mongo shell. to use the MongoDB in practice. And again, after that, we're going to dive into the MongoDB environment and try to investigate CRUD operations in practice. Okay, till next session, goodbye.